So what's it like? Because I feel like when you get to come do each one of these with someone else, you can like, you get like a redo, or like you. I mean, is there stuff each time that you think, God, in the first movie, I wish I would have done this with Bella, and now I
Right.
can add that little ingredient in, or is it, what's it like?
Yeah, there's a few things like that. Even when it comes to little detail stuff, just like she should cook for her dad because that's so cool in the book. It just is. It's a nice thing and it should be there. Um, what else? It's nice working with a different director because you do feel like you can't get lazy or complacent. You have to, like, he always sort of comes. I mean, like at least with the last two experiences I've had, they have to because Twilight's already obviously been made and they've probably seen the movie. They have to meet Bella through me, like no matter what, which is just sort of a weird thing. It's like usually you make something with someone, and so it's cool. It's like it's awesome when they come in and make you reconsider everything because if we were working with the same person, we might just sort of go like, oh, we've thought of that. So
Tell me what it is you think. I mean, in this past couple of years, like, what is it about this that's making it, the books, the movies, a cultural phenomenon in itself? Do you have a sense yet?
um, it's I don't know. We always I've asked fans that because we get the question all the time and I always just have a really simple answer, which is just like, I really, I really can like really easily invest in the characters. I'm sure everybody else. I know that's why people get so obsessed with this because when you read the book, it's very first person and it's really like sensory, and everyone can relate to first love, and it's like really raw sometimes, and like really just it's like desire and devotion, which is like all aspects of human nature that are like sort of ideal and like cool to think about. You know, it's like a fantasy. So and it's like when a love story comes along, they're always popular. So I don't know why it's a cultural phenomenon, but and the fans always say like first love, just really simple stuff. They always just say really normal stuff.
Well, there's, I think, something about the idea, the love in this is the kind of love that everyone wants. Everyone wants to love someone so much they would die for them or have them
Totally.
die for you, and that's such a pie in the sky, not like regular relationship, pragmatic people sort of
Have.
indulge in every
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
But you want that.
Exactly. And you have a fairly pragmatic person, like somebody who's really not prone to like throwing herself into the unknown, and she loses herself, and so it's you know.
Well, I have this theory about the character of Bella and the way you approach her and play her is that you make her sort of universally, like every girl feels that they could be Bella, and you let her be real and genuine and tortured and awkward when she's awkward, and yet you don't ever apologize for it.
Yeah, well, she doesn't in the book. I mean, that's really how she is in the book. I mean, that's awesome. That's a huge compliment. But like, you know, she makes a lot of mistakes, but like, when it comes down to it, like the most important thing for her is that everything's like honest and truthful, and um, that's why she's able to fess up when she makes mistakes and say like, yeah, I'm really awkward, but that's the way I am. And like, I think a lot of girls are like that.
Talk about the love triangle in this movie, because it's been there from the since the last movie, really. But in this movie, it really comes to a place where it's like ever present, constantly.
Right. Yeah. She's totally blind in the first two movies. She was not even willing to look at Jacob, and he's obviously in love with her. Like it's not trying to hide it at all. And I don't know. Something happens in Eclipse. It's like I don't know if it's because a lot of time has gone by. She's like comfortable with Edward now, and she's not so under like a spell of some kind. But I think it takes kissing him to be able to really actually see what he could offer, because she's just so affected. Like she's just so Edward oriented.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so I think at that moment it's like, oh God, it took all this time, but now I really do see that you could, you know, that path is great.
When she kisses him, do you think, and from your perspective, is it a thing where she's like, he's my platonic really good friend, and the kiss is like, oh, now I see what it is for him?
I think that she's freaking out and she doesn't know what to do because he's being irrational and he's going to go like die in the battle, and she doesn't want that to happen, and so she's can't think of anything else to keep him there, and she's being manipulative, and she kisses him and doesn't want to, but then in the middle of it realizes, like, whoa, this is like, I can do this. I never thought I could do this. Because she's never been with anyone else. I mean, she's never even like, and she doesn't want to consider it. And so it's like, it just literally, like, punches her in the face. Like, what? Yeah. Yeah. And then she has to go talk about it with Edward.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting because I think one of the moments, so much of the part where I feel the love engages, is Bella and Edward, but the moment when you're sort of talking to him in a wolf form and you pet his head was so touching to me. Was that tough to play because of the CGI and all that, or was it you understood and it was easy because you were so?
Having a director like provide a good environment, like especially if the movie's like a really CG movie, which this one really isn't. I didn't have to deal with a whole lot of it. I mean, other people did, but Taylor actually dressed up. I mean, everyone knows this, but Taylor dressed up in a suit, and instead of like staring at like a tennis ball, which is green that they can take out, or something like that, like a tennis ball looking thing, I actually got to say my lines to Taylor. And it is funny that he looked so funny, but I did need to be talking to him. It would have been awful if I had to like fake it, and it would have been lying. It would have been like, I'm looking at a tennis ball right now. I'm like expressing how afraid I am. I'm actually admitting at this point that I'm scared and that like I'm, the cause of it, and I'm looking at a tennis ball. Yeah.
What do you think? Why would you tell someone to see Eclipse, or do you feel like is there anything they need to know before they see Eclipse if they haven't seen the other movies yet?
I think Eclipse does a pretty good job. I mean, like each book and movie, because it comes from the book, like it reintroduces you to all of the characters, really. And especially like in the beginning of Eclipse, me and Edward start out like solid. I mean, it's really easy to pick up like where they are. And also, somebody just told me that it comes to an end in a way that was really satisfying for them, which was cool to hear. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to answer that because I really see all five now, weird, but all four stories, like, they're really interlocked in my head.
Right, so you're like in the middle of it still. You're not really, like, it's still not closed, it's like totally in the middle.
Yeah, the story literally just stops, and then we have to, like, go make another movie and wait for everyone to get ready to make the next one, and then we get to go back and finish the story. It's weird.
All right, well, I'm out of time. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Awesome.